What screams, "I'm not doing so well mentally"? Story 1. I can't motivate myself to do simple things around the house that I actually never mind doing when I'm feeling okay. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to answer the phone. I don't want to participate in any activities. I just want time to stand still. This is me when I get into a dark place. I just want to eat, sleep, and watch TV. Everything is exhausting or irritating. I don't want to see friends or talk to anyone. Nothing leaves me alone. Not even really wanting to watch TV or play video games, just something to fill the empty noise in your head while you get to the next day. It's so weird how on paper it seems like the dream is to just lounge out all day, watch YouTube, scroll Reddit, eat whatever the hell you want, and nap when you feel like it. Yet when you actually do this, you end up feeling much worse than before because it was all you wanted to do. It's not living the dream. It freaking sucks. It feels like being stuck on one of those little patches of grass in the middle of an interchange by the on-ramp watching everyone else go by at 60 miles per hour. Why am I here? This is terrible. Who actually mows this grass? It's just grass in the middle, and up close it's full of cigarette butts and bleached Coke cans from the 90s. I don't even know how to get out because I'm surrounded by highways. It's a dream when you can choose to do it, not when you're failing to choose not to do it. Exactly this. When I'm doing okay, I can plan ahead, put in some extra effort during the week, do meal prep, and get ahead on housework, etc. Then use that extra time to enjoy spending the day playing whatever game release I've been excited about, watching that new show, or reading through a book I've been looking forward to. And it's a fantastic, relaxing time, even though I wasted the entire day on something non-productive. When I'm not well, I'll spend the day almost the same way, but I watch the next episode, not because I'm engaged with the show, but because I just can't find the energy to turn off the TV. I'll get up and walk in circles for an hour trying to think of something I can stand cooking for dinner before eventually chucking in a frozen pizza. From the outside, both days look exactly the same, but in the first example I'm getting energy out of it and can easily catch up on the chores I put off. The second just drains me further and makes it even harder to function the next day. Story 2. They're slacking on hygiene. I'm a dental hygienist. Had a patient post-COVID who noticeably gained weight and their teeth went from practically flawless to very much less so. I remember asking him if everything was okay, and he was almost in tears. COVID was really hard on his mental health for a lot of different reasons. He hadn't been able to see his American family due to, well, the aforementioned. Luckily, he's in a much better place now. No issues in his last checkup, and he has a boyfriend now. Yeah, slacking on hygiene combined with a really messy room for long periods of time and sleeping way too frequently. If you notice any of these, check in on your friend or loved one. It doesn't hurt to ask. If anything, it shows that people care. Basically me. Sleep has become a safe drug of sorts. Don't have to feel anything when I'm sleeping, and over time it's caused me to physically feel sleepy or tired, even when I shouldn't be. Toxic cycle that I have no clue how to break free from. Currently at 2 weeks without a shower and 2 weeks without laundry. My hair is difficult to comb, so that's matted, and my dental hygiene has been seriously neglected for 4 years since my mom passed away. I drew a bad picture to keep myself from spiraling, but everything just feels impossible right now. I'm so tired, I can't even feel genuinely happy anymore because I feel worse after. I've been prescribed daily showering and toothbrushing. Those things are also part of my crisis plan. If I stop brushing my teeth, I have to ask for help, and that means going back into treatment, since I hate asking for help, but I will when I stop brushing my teeth, because I know where that slippery slope leads, and while I've been there enough times to know I can't say I'll never be face down in that pit again, I never want to be. So I keep on brushing. Story 3. They quit reaching out as much. A friend of mine thanked me for being an annoyance when he stopped reaching out. It saved his life. I have a policy where whenever I have a nice thought about a friend or family member, I send them a quick heart emoji with no expectation of a reply or conversation. It's just something I've been known to do. Let me tell you, people love this. Most of the time I get a little heart back or a smiley face, but sometimes you get people on a day they really need that, and it makes everyone feel better. I have one friend who told me, "Hey, I'm going to start messaging you random links and pictures and stuff, but please don't feel obligated to respond to them. There's no expectation. I just want to have someone to share stuff I like with." And as my mental health has struggled and I've lost all my friendships, she's still the one I'm in touch with because she keeps sending stuff. And even if she messages asking me how I'm doing, or starting a conversation. She's never mad if it takes me 2 weeks to get back to her, and always says don't apologize. And then we had a really good long conversation because I didn't message her back until I had the mental energy to talk. I hope I can make it up to her someday, somehow, and be as good a friend to her as she's been to me. But it's really helped me through a very socially bleak patch to have this one good friendship that she's had to do all the work to keep going lately. I have been the friend that did this, a few times actually. I think I said something like, "You don't have to respond, you don't even have to open the chat, I have no expectations. You don't owe me anything. I just want you to know you're still an active part of my thoughts." Then I spent over a year doing exactly that. Memes, telling them about my day, sometimes venting about something, cat pic. Sometimes they were in the hospital for a long period of time, sometimes they just couldn't pick up the phone. With another friend, I asked for one single emoji every other day, and I usually got it. Even if it was a thumbs up, it also meant I'm here, I see your messages, and they matter enough that I check them often enough to catch this request. In that particular case, I was asking in order to check if they'd gone to the hospital since this was after a tragic accident. To me, I was holding out a hand. I'm not demanding you take it. I'm not demanding you fix yourself or do anything. I am making sure that you know that I know that you're struggling, and that I am not letting go. My hand will be there when you're in a position to take it. Our friendship hasn't ended. I've been fortunate that my friends have reached back when they've been able to. I'm very close to getting my therapy license, and when I do, I hope to be able to do something similar within the constraints of the client-therapist relationship. I often think about the caring letters study, and I think it's an effective but overlooked way to work as a therapist. During COVID, I started creating and sending cards out to friends and family. There were so many who were struggling, and the cards helped. A quick "I am thinking of you" can make all the difference. At Christmas, I made a Facebook post saying, if someone wanted a card, send me their address. That year, I received over 30 requests. Every year, the number goes up. I went through a 6-month stint in the ICU and got some new organs. It was an absolutely horrible time, and no one ever reached out to me. I've never mentally recovered from that and have zero interest in reaching out to anyone. What's the point if even literally almost dying, then miraculously not dying isn't enough to get anyone to check in on you? Absolutely a sign of not doing well mentally, giving up on people. Story 4. They are not interested in their hobbies. I'm fine. It's just that life is pointless and nothing matters and I'm always tired. Also, I can't sleep, I'm overeating, and none of my old hobbies interest me. ETA, this is a quote from Andy on Parks and Rec. Check it out on YouTube if you're interested. Yeah, I got invited, but I just didn't feel like going. Aren't you always saying you wish you could hang out with your friends more? Yeah, but every time I text on short notice, no one is free. I've tried to set up plans or ask them to let me know when they're free, and I never hear back. The people that do probably aren't the best influence on me, and I don't really even much enjoy hanging out with them that much anymore. I just don't really feel like doing anything. This is what tipped me off to how bad I was actually doing. I was bored out of my mind, but even though I have a lot of hobbies I enjoy, I couldn't make myself do anything but sit on my phone. It sucks. I'm right there with you. I haven't looked at my shop and all the half-finished or unstarted projects in months. Just diagnosed with ADHD. Lots of anxiety and depression to go along with it. Someone has probably said this to you before, and I don't know if it helps at all, but a diagnosis just puts a name to what you've already been struggling with. You aren't broken. You aren't just lazy. This is real. And now that you know what it is, you've made the first step towards figuring out what to do about it. I haven't been diagnosed, but I've definitely been struggling. Punctuality, listening, if something is interesting, I'll focus on it for far longer than I realize. If it isn't interesting, I can't stick with it. Impulse control, especially over things I say, leads to interruptions and conflicts over things that aren't worth it. Trying to function with all that requires so much mindfulness and discipline. Always. Story 5. I haven't been out of my room except to go to work or eat, and I usually wait until no one is around so I can eat. I work from home, so I get that. I hate going to the office once a year, and when I'm as down as I am now, I won't let my husband see me eat. Some days I have to go out of my 4 walls. The other day I sat at a restaurant by myself to enjoy some food. We can be our greatest company. I drive to get dinner every night. If I go to the grocery store, I will get all the ingredients for tonight's dinner, some extras like Parmesan or milk, but mostly just the main items tonight. That way, I have to go out tomorrow after work too. I do have backup dry goods like cereal, canned tuna, chicken soup, rice, spaghetti, and oatmeal, if I can't go out on a particular night, but generally every night I go out to make a reason. I work from home also. I don't hate being around people, I kind of like it, kind of don't. Depends on who it is. I'm not one of those who needs to go to the office no matter who is there. It all depends on who it is. But the real reason I don't go in is because I don't like waking up early, getting ready, and wearing nice clothes. I like to roll out of bed at 9 and log in. If I go into the office, to show up at 9 means I have to get up at 7, get ready, and commute just to be there at 9. Or wake up at 8:50, brush my teeth, and I'm logged in at 9 to start time. Then use my lunch hour to shower. That 2-hour convenience is worth not getting to be around coworkers. Definitely get outside, brother. I worked from home and stayed in one room for 3 years. Only left the house maybe once a month. And I developed a horrible anxiety disorder. Going outside literally gives me very uncomfortable physical symptoms now. So I'm doing exposure therapy and it definitely helps. But living with a legit anxiety disorder is awful. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. Please make sure you take care of yourself and get out of the house often so that you give your brain lots of different things to be stimulated by. Stay healthy and take care of yourself, brother. Don't make the mistake I did. I'm suffering for it. This was literally me after the pandemic. I couldn't go out and had to stay at home with my parents who wouldn't stop berating me about things. After that, not only my relationship with them was basically ruined, but every time I went out, my body physically reacted. For example, just going to the grocery store would cause me to start sweating like crazy, and my scalp would start itching like I had never felt before. This doesn't happen anymore, thank God. However, I also became extremely self-conscious about my appearance and what I believe to be some form of social anxiety where sometimes I get so anxious in public spaces that I start to fixate on the way I walk, thinking I walk weirdly and have to fix it. I was not like this. What the hell? This is exactly me. I can go days without leaving my apartment. I'll only leave on the weekends, and when I do, I'll have legit panic attacks because I don't feel safe outside of my apartment. Constantly stressed, I'll faint or pass out or something. Heart attacks, aneurysms, strokes, all the awful things will happen if I leave the only space I feel protected. I've started going back to the gym and forcing myself to take daily walks. I love work from home, but man, that stuff sure does something wonky to your brain if you literally don't interact with people at all. I only talk to my significant other and I'm terrified of how dependent I'm getting on him. Anxiety sure is a mother. Screw it. I'm trying to beat it with therapy and medication, but what a monster. Story 6. My business math teacher used to come to school looking like he got dressed under his desk. One morning I will never forget. He wore 2 different shoes, black dress shoe and light brown shoe, which also were the wrong sides, left foot, right shoe, left foot. A half-tucked shirt, bed hair, and a liquid stain on the neck of his shirt. His excuse for looking like that? I got dressed in the dark this morning and I picked up the wrong shoes and accidentally grabbed a dirty shirt. As a teenager, I just thought, he's a messy person. But as I got older, I believe he went through a bad divorce and he didn't take it so well. I still think about him and wonder what really happened. That's wild. A colleague of mine years and years ago did exactly the same thing, and it was for an almost identical reason. Quick background, we were both known for dressing very well. Designer shoes, custom suits, custom shirts, you name it. One day, we're sitting in my office having a meeting and he sits down on the floor. I think we were redecorating that day, but who knows? Could have been part of the weirdness. And he looks at his feet and just casually, absently says, "I'm wearing different socks." I take one look at him and in a kind of a shocked, concerned voice say, "Pete, you're also wearing different shoes. One's an Oxford, and it's not even laced. Your pants are just wrong. You have no belt and your shirt's not pressed." Turns out he was in a full-on marriage battle mode with his wife. I just sat and talked with him for at least 2 hours. It was bad. I had a teacher in high school who constantly looked like a dirty, unmade bed. He owned 2 suits and he'd alternate wearing the brown one, then the blue one, then the brown one, all with some hideous shirt and tie. Nothing ever looked clean and his hair was constantly in need of cutting. I was just a teenager, but I could tell he looked like crap. This guy was in his 50s, single, never married, and a humorous individual who was a pretty good teacher and a genuinely nice guy who we all liked. A few years after graduation, I found out he'd been made to take a leave of absence to dry out. Ding, light bulb. No wonder he looked like a train wreck. He was one. poor fellow. He probably had vodka in his morning coffee and was barely able to make it to school at all. Little naive me finally put two and two together. All the jokes he used to make about liking Manhattans, I barely knew that was a cocktail, seemed pathetic in retrospect. I don't know what finally became of my teacher, but I hope he conquered his addiction. I had a teacher in the 7th grade whose brother was in the hospital, and she did not take it well. She was one of those teachers who would hang out with the students sometimes after school and was pretty open with us about how she was doing. Sometimes she wouldn't show up and then she'd come to school the next day like, "Yeah, I ended up going to the hospital and crying in my car all day." And we're all like, "Miss, you need therapy." One day she came to school and she was like, "Sorry guys, I thought last night was Friday night, so I went out drinking and now I have a hangover. Can we just dim the lights and keep it quiet today?" She quit the next year and started going to therapy, and I heard when she told the class she was quitting, they all clapped for her. It was well known she wasn't doing well, and we were all pretty sure she was depressed, so we were glad to see her get the help that she needed. My mom didn't like her because she seemed irresponsible. She kinda was, but in the end, I think she was just depressed and just needed to not be working for a bit while she got back on her feet. I hope she's okay now. When I was in high school, I had an English teacher like this. He always looked pretty rough and was always guzzling coffee. He came in once wearing 2 different sneakers, and once came in wearing a t-shirt. Then one day he just wasn't there anymore and the school was really quiet about it. This was in the early 90s, so no one had a way to check anything online or whatever, but towards the end of the year we had a sub, and the class was acting up a lot and being pretty rude. The sub, who was this old woman, maybe late 60s, out of the blue says, "No wonder your teacher killed himself. You kids are freaking awful." Everyone was like, "What the fuck?" One girl started just bawling and ran out of the room. I found out years later she had been sleeping with him. Story 7. You ask them how they are and they say with no emotion, "Live in the dream." I say that every day, but that's not really problematic. The problematic one is that they just kinda shrug. It's when they stop joking, you have to worry. People don't really realize that unless they've had friends who've dealt with depression, I think. I'm sure everyone's different though. Yeah, I have bad depression too. I often deflect with humor, but that's just a defense mechanism to get people to stop talking about it. Basically, I'm good at it, so I use what works for me. Good things to watch out for though. I trained myself to say, "I'm great," or "I'm spectacular," or "magnificent," in the cheeriest of manners even when I'm not, especially when I'm not. Because then nobody asks you what's wrong. This stops you from having to dodge the question or worse, answer and tell them what's wrong. Then you have to vocalize and deal with the associated emotions of all of this plus while being vulnerable. Then the other person is going to sympathize and or try to help, furthering the anguish of this whole thing. So I bottle all that up, stick it deep down, lock it away from my unfortunately really good memory and say it's an absolutely gorgeous day out today. Or a personal favorite, "You're looking sharp today." The happiest and nicest people are sometimes masking the most pain. It's the no emotion that clinches it. I give tactfully neutral responses to this question all the time, but I always pair that with a morbidly cheerful tone and expression. I may have a lot of bad days, but I'm still glad to be breathing, and for all of my sarcasm, there's still something good to be found in being at school or work or just out in the wider world having a simple interaction with another human being. I'm not going to lie through my teeth about being better than I am, but living the dream or still here are not bitter platitudes to me. They're just a socially acceptable and concise way of saying things suck right now, but I'm toughing it out. Story 8. Sudden change in personality and or spending habits. This one is a big one because it doesn't just signify a possible mental disorder like depression, it also is a massive red flag for brain tumors. If someone you know acts very unlike themselves, it comes out of nowhere, and it seems to consistently be their new personality for an extended period of time, encouraging them to see a medical professional to get their noggin checked out. I know this is easier said than done. If it is a mass in the brain, time is of the essence. Plus 1,000 to this. When I was young, my mom gradually started getting mean. She'd yell at my dad after we went to sleep, rip up my homework assignments if I wasn't doing them right, and develop a hateful and self-centered attitude towards everything. It got pretty dramatic and did happen seemingly overnight, but it also started small, relatively speaking, with her feeling a little paranoid and annoyed at everything she encountered. One day as a kid, I found a box in the garage with her old yearbooks, and was shocked to see how literally everyone was describing her as this kind, empathetic, gentle person. It seemed that was my dad's memory of her too, but it genuinely didn't match the mean person who I saw at home home every day. She was in her late 30s, and her doctors and psychiatrists assumed the change in her demeanor was because she was stressed about having 2 kids to raise, even with her suddenly complaining about migraines that were so bad we had to spend at least 1 night in the hospital each week. She found out after a few years of gaslighting that it was actually a spontaneous non-cancerous brain tumor. They scheduled her for surgery to remove it, but she died about 5 months before the procedure. This is a common trait of certain personality disorders like BPD. You can tell a switching phase is about to happen because a change of personality is closely followed by a period of mania or impulsivity, like spending habits. They're testing the boundaries of their new selves. They usually simultaneously cut out people from their previous lives who aren't immediately accepting of this switch, usually a close relationship or a change of job. I know somebody who has a new personality almost every 6 months. The previous personality is like a dream, and they have a lot of cognitive dissonance when reality creeps in. It's quite dangerous to talk to them about it because it's like telling a gambler they may have a problem in the middle of a winning streak. A former friend of mine used to be lots of fun. Then at some point we all noticed a change, spiraling a lot of negative thoughts, sudden anger about trivial matters, and buying lots and lots of stuff simply because he didn't want someone else to buy it. The anger was the worst. There is a reason that he is no longer a member of the same hobby group, got suspended for his behavior, and then resigned himself, and that most of us no longer consider him a friend. At first, we felt sorry, but over time, with him refusing to get his crap together and seek help, we all got fed up. You can't save someone who refuses to see that they are in danger. Story 9. Sadly, enough high-functioning depression doesn't scream. There is little to no way that gives it away. We just come home and cry in the shower every day. Or you just numb out while still continuing to function with daily tasks. At work, I acted like I was fine around people near me, but slowly drowned out social activities and hobbies. I even sometimes get my nails done just to keep up with my routine, but have no interest in learning new things or meeting new people or trying anything really outside of maintaining my routine. From personal experience, it does scream eventually. Masking depression takes a lot of energy. You can keep borrowing energy from the future, like taking out loans to pay off previous ones. You are fine throughout the day, but fall asleep the moment you get home. You are fine during the week, but sleep all weekend. You are fine all month, but stay in bed for your entire vacation. But eventually, you can't borrow energy from the future anymore, and you just break. I feel like this was me. I have 3 kids, so I had no choice but to continue to clean the house and make food for them and do their laundry. But I would doom scroll after they went to bed, staying up till midnight, hating myself. Waking up, the first thought was, I hate myself. Finally, one day I started to panic and worry about the effects untreated depression and anxiety will have on my children, so I went to my primary care and asked for antidepressants. I was half expecting her to recommend losing weight, eating better, or going to bed earlier. Instead, she welled up with me when I cried, telling her how mentally exhausted I was and how much I hated myself. So now I'm on Lexapro, and I can't believe my life is much better. Story 10. They start being really generous out of the blue, or at least completely different. Always willing to hang out, cheery, buying everyone gifts or giving away things when they otherwise wouldn't have done that, or been like that before. Unless they're moving, it's probably likely they're planning on leaving this earth soon, and that's their final goodbyes. My father did this before he committed suicide. Immigrating to the US, my father worked extremely hard to give us a good life. We grew up super poor, but he did everything he could to give us a good life. Sadly, became unmanageable. Before he left, he spent time with us and spoiled us. Later into my teens, I realized that was his way of saying goodbye. I lost a father figure this way as well. We immigrated and the isolation and stress drowned him. I don't blame him, but I do still miss him. Always will. I'm sorry that we both relate to this. Take care. Make it 3 of them. We don't live in the USA, however, my father also committed suicide when I was 12. He gave me a goodbye kiss that night, and I am angry and sad. I'm not sure what was the reason. I blame his job. I want to crush the mines where he used to work. Ugly place with ill-hearted people digging metal for corrupted people. I blame alcohol. He used to drink a lot. Influence of other miners working around. I blame him. I blame myself. Once I had a gun in my hand and all I was thinking about was if I pulled the trigger would I get a chance to talk to my father? I tried to do everything not to end my life as he did. Story 11. Rapid weight loss or gain, or similar physical changes, e.g. messy appearance, poor hygiene, etc., are obvious. Less obvious, being late more often than usual, especially if it's in the morning, indicates excessive sleeping. Constantly tired, zoning out frequently, they don't add anything to conversations, just listen and nod to whatever's being said. Talking less than usual, difficult to make plans with, often canceling and or first to leave in group plans. Bloodshot eyes, puffy face, etc. all indicate they've been crying recently. I really like that you put the note about not adding anything to conversations. That is not something that gets brought up often in these conversations. There's no fight left. We are tired. So whatever everyone else says is fine. And in addition to that, honestly, my mind is not in the right place to be contributing. I'm thinking, or more accurately not thinking, about how numb everything is. If someone in your life stops voicing their opinions about anything/everything, it is a bad sign. I'm not vocally opinionated myself normally, but I'll speak up to say just, I disagree, and then move on to a good day. I don't even bother with disagreeing on a bad day. So true. During my worst depression period, I also just had nothing to contribute to the conversation. No, I haven't seen this show, read that book, or done anything remotely interesting to share. Just been crying in the shower, in the car every day, and barely surviving. Story 12. For me, it's when my house becomes dirty and unorganized. My dishes start to pile up, my dirty laundry is left on the floor, trash can is doing a balancing act. Normally, I'm on top of all these things daily and weekly, but sometimes I can tell that a depressive episode is just around the corner based on the state of my home. Sometimes that happens the other way around. I'm usually quite messy, but I had a depressive period during which I started paying more attention to my own house and developed some time management and organizing habits that I always lacked. Because when your brain just doesn't work, and all you want is to sleep, cleaning gives you a sense of control, and when you have trouble remembering what you've eaten for breakfast, you have no choice but to keep a planner and set up notifications for stuff that needs to be done. Story 13. Very few observable signs are mentioned here, so I will list some. 1. Drastic weight gain or loss. If you see someone and think, they're really letting themselves go, it's probably mental and not physical. 2. Drastic change in appearance. Did they shave their heads? Did they stop shaving and their beard looks messy? Do they look stressed out? 3. Change in hygiene. Did they stop brushing their teeth? Do you notice lots of dandruff on someone who would normally be meticulous? 4. Higher hurdle for humor. It is harder to make this person laugh. Does this person not joke around anymore? Generally speaking, a healthy person has their shit together. Good hygiene, are well dressed, work hard on their goals, and are social with friends and family. A person can be suffering inside, and that might not cross the threshold into depression, but that doesn't mean they're not suffering, and how they feel inside will express itself on the outside, and it usually comes across as suspiciously off. Like something feels wrong, but you don't know what it is, and that's because people often put on a public face to conceal their problems. Yep, I haven't showered in days, but I mask it with deodorant everywhere that would make a smell. I prefer to be bald. So when my horseshoe hair appears, that's the sign I'm in either the start of a spiral or in the middle of it. I'm on meds, so I may need it increased. Something to let the practitioner know about for sure. My mood is good, but my mind isn't. My nest in the living room is like a bomb went off with trash, so I need to tackle that at some point. Hygiene today for sure though. Hopefully I can maintain that for more than a couple of days. Story 14. Self-harm, but in weird ways people notice, but it can be excused. I'm a picker, especially at my lips. When I'm struggling mentally, I rip them to shreds, but it's easy to cover up when wearing makeup or the excuse of chapped lips. This is going to sound crazy, but I never thought of this as self-harm. It's just something I've always done. I peel my lips, pull at my cuticles, constantly mess with skin blemishes, and can't leave scabs on legs from shaving or whatever alone. Well, crap. Yeah, maybe it would be self-harm if you did it purposefully to hurt yourself. I'm pretty sure I just have compulsive skin picking. I don't want to hurt myself, I just need to pick at things. Story 15. Glued on their phone. That's my hint that I'm trying to dissociate. I also rub behind my ears mindlessly when I do the phone thing, often causing rawness similar to scalp pickers, but it's just behind my ears only, not my entire scalp. I tell my hairdresser it's eczema so she doesn't think I'm a freak. I'm actually doing it now, which is why my account is new. yet I have decent karma. I spend like 18 hours a day commenting on Reddit posts to numb me, yet feel socialized. The odd thing is, my life is good, I'm just a wimp, or maybe an undiagnosed neurodivergent. One of the two. Thanks for watching until the end. If you have a similar story to these that you would like to share with us, please leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.